Big argument, big fracas in New York. Very interesting because for once it's not right-wing, crazy, religious, nut-job, gay-hating Republicans, but actually left-wing school system officials who are very upset about Common Core. We haven't really discussed much about Common Core recently. That's why you're going to get an extra double dose today. And this is in particular the, what's her name? The woman in charge of the New York public schools in upstate New York does not want the Common Core data to be given to the nonprofit corporation In Bloom. Now, In Bloom is a...
In Bloom?
In Bloom. Yeah, we've discussed In Bloom. In Bloom is the Bill and Melinda Gates funded nonprofit, which will have, if you go to inbloom. Is it inbloom.org, inbloom.com? Org, yeah. You'll see what they're basically planning on doing. And the whole idea is the data goes in, and then third-party application developers can get a seal of approval and can then slice and dice the data and give this fantastic information about your children to, well, of course, the idea is to give it to other educators and the parents, but we know kind of what's going to happen.
Also, some of it's got to go to the to the oversight committee and the steering committee of the CCA.
Of course.
The Corrections Corporation of America, which is also partially owned by Gates.
Now, here's the disturbing thing about In Bloom. In Bloom, they have a, of course, they're nonprofit, so they have to file a Form 990. I love looking at Form 990s. Anyone can do this. And I pulled their 2012 990. 2013 is not due yet. In 2012, they had zero income. So this is basically a startup. It's a new company. We have no financial data. Nothing has been officially released. They have released nothing on their website other than that they're funded by Bill and Melinda Gates. And they also don't show up for the conversation. Instead, when NPR, and this is where I was alerted to this, wanted to have a debate, they got a spokeshole from the Data Quality Campaign, which you can find at dataqualitycampaign.org. Another nonprofit funded by, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And a professional lobbyist type outfit, their entire reason for existence is to protect In Bloom. And if you look at the board of directors, which is always my favorite thing to do, we have Rob McKenna. He's the chairman. He's from a law firm, Orrick, Harrington, and Sutcliffe. We have John Bailey. He's from Dutco Worldwide, a huge lobbying firm. Lead Edge Capital, Paul D. Bell. I mean, it's just all elitist crap holes who are on this another Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation nonprofit. So it's just layers and layers and layers of people protecting this scam. I wanted to play, although it's a little long, I wanted to play a bit of this debate between the lady from the schools who really doesn't want this to happen and the Data Quality Campaign woman, so you can get an understanding of the argument. And then we're going to hear an educator talk about really, and this was mind-blowing when I saw this video of hers, about what is really going on with this Common Core and the data and the computerized testing.
Amy Rogstad-Gadara, I imagine you disagree with some of the sentiments there, and I want you to make the case for us, first of all, of why we need to be collecting and sharing the data of kids.
And by the way, Amy, what's her name, Gadakstad-Krishnani, if you look at the dataqualitycampaign.org, you'll see there's an actual menu item, which is Amy's Desk, the source for the latest in education policy and data, from Executive Director Amy Rogstad-Gadara. So it's Amy's desk.
Sure. So I'm an unabashed advocate, and we all are at the Data Quality Campaign, for changing the use of data in education. We believe that data is the great equalizer. And, the truth is we've always had data in education, but we've never used it to really change conversations, change actions, and to change outcomes. And we're now on the cusp, and it's starting to happen around the country, where we're starting to see where educators and families are having access to quality, actionable information. And as a result, it's changing the teaching and learning process. It's providing greater transparency about what's going on. It allows us to have richer conversations about accountability.
Whenever someone says a richer conversation about anything, the hair on the back of my neck stands up. This is complete double-speak, gobbledygook bullshit.
And most importantly, it's empowering individuals to make great decisions for their own kids. And I just want to reinforce, this is about, more than anything, empowering parents with actionable information about their own kids.
Now, you as a homeschooling parent, John, how do you view the idea of, I'm quoting from their website, prioritizing student data privacy in the cloud and beyond? Does that sound good to you? Does this sound like this will be something good that the child will actually benefit from this?
Never, ever had before.
Well, give me an example of that, of how exactly this data could be used to help parents and their kids.
Okay. I'm all ears. What, John, you've taught your children at home. They've all gone on to be Ivy Leaguers. Or at least...
Yeah, you do that by letting them read the classics, teaching them from neutral sources, letting them think for themselves.
Did you give them a Kindle Paperwhite and then track their progress, how fast they were reading and what words?
Who cares?
Did you track?
Why would anybody care about that?
Did you not?
If you want somebody to finish a book,
were you not interested in actionable? Did you not want actionable data to have a deeper, richer conversation?
I have no desire to anything actionable.
Here we go.
Well, number one, I'm a mom, and the number one question I want to ask my teachers, and I ask them constantly, in my teacher conferences, but every time I have a chance to talk to them, how is my kid doing? Is my kid on track to be ready for this, knowledge economy that they're going to be going out into?
What?
And how do I know? And rather than in the past where teachers would say, trust us, we're doing the right thing, everything's going to be okay.
I actually really enjoyed that process of interacting with the teacher, and the teacher never said, trust us. I've never heard a teacher say, trust us, everything's fine, nothing to see here. No, quite the opposite. Mr. Curry, your kid's a little distracted. It's a little annoying sometimes, but I like the spunk. She needs a little work on this or that. Maybe you can help. I've never heard trust us.
They now can provide me data showing how's my kid doing, not just compared to other kids in her classroom, but also in the school. But also, we're now able to get this actionable information that shows...
Actionable.
Because we do have this ability to look and know that if a kid is scoring at this point in third grade, for a real data point, we know if kids aren't reading on grade level by third grade, the chances of them graduating from high school are diminishing. And so that's real data that we can tell parents that we need to get your kid reading on grade level by third grade, or we know that the results aren't going to be great.
That is the stupidest argument I've ever heard. Your kid might not graduate because he's not at a third grade reading level. And we can't figure this out without actionable data in the cloud, lady? No.
And while that may be scary, as the superintendent just talked about, of being profiling, we think it's much more empowering when you start thinking about that power of data.
You say these same buzzwords, empowering,
yes,
all this crap from Silicon Valley over and over.
Yes. And I'm glad you're picking up on it.
Put into the hands of families so that they know how they can be the best advocate for their child. And when teachers are given that information and given the training to know how to use it, it empowers them to not just teach the whole class in a cohort, but to really focus the teaching process on individual needs and to make sure that every kid is getting what they need and are ready to be prepared and to live up to their potential.
All right.
Ready to be prepared.
To live up to their potential.
It's kind of a redundant comment.
Are
you ready to be prepared, or are you just ready?
And it's ready to be prepared to live up to your potential.
Ready to be prepared to live up to, which means, what does that mean? It means nothing.
No. And so that goes on for hours. Now, what you are about to hear is the other, and this was mind-boggling. This is Peg Luksic. And she's a troublemaker. I'll be the first to... I got to point that out right off the bat. Politician, Constitution Party, Pennsylvania, troublemaker.
Constitution Party.
She's a troublemaker.
That's troublemaker.
She's a troublemaker. However,
what's your name again?
Peg Luksic, Lima Uniform Kilo, Sierra India Kilo. Don't spend any time on her. Listen to what she's saying. She says this whole Common Core thing with the data in the cloud is about computer adaptive testing. Are you familiar with the concept?
No, but I can make sense of it by just the name of it.
Okay, so to set this up, remember, your kid is doing stuff, the test, all the educational materials, but also the testing is coming from the cloud into the kid's iPad or tablet or laptop or whatever it is, and the kid is answering, so it's completely two-way interactive. However, as she's about to point out, this has been going on for a long time with pencil and paper. The idea that the test is not just a test for the topic at hand, i.e. comprehensive reading, but it can also change on the fly so that it turns into an actual slave training mechanism. Computer adaptive testing, I give you Peg Luksic.
The problem isn't that it's self-paced. The problem is that the test is open to manipulation. So if I want it to look like the students are doing poorly, I can adapt it to make the test harder. If I want it to look like the students are doing well, it can be adapted to make the test easier. And you as parents or taxpayers or policy setters will never know which way the test was adapted because it's an internal mechanism. So it is not a valid assessment, and that is the fundamental problem with it, is that the test is being manipulated as it's being taken. In other cases, when you're not in math but you're in some of the more history or other areas where it's more philosophy driven, you have to comply before you can move on. So the child is put in a position of, you must agree. I don't agree with the global warming. No, but you have to, because the test won't let you move on unless you comply. So when the test makers can make the test adaptive, we can make it easier, we can make it harder, or we can make it so that we force compliance. You can't take the next step unless you comply with whatever it is that's being taught or presented in the test.
So you're seeing where this is going, right?
You know what would be funny? Not that any of this is funny, but I think the test should go a little further than that. So when you answer, like, is global warming good? No, I think it's bull crap. The test should come back with a response. You don't say.
Oh, John, have you already heard the clip?
No.
So even if you don't agree with it, you're going to have to write it. You're going to have to say so. Perhaps an example that is older will help you. I have a long history in this movement. This is not the first time the federal government has attempted to take over education. So in the 1990s, that iteration was called outcome-based education and then school to work.
You remember that, right? Outcome-based education. That's probably what got you to homeschool in the first place.
And I was one of the leading national opponents then too, and I got involved because a woman showed me a test. It was given in Pennsylvania. It was called the Educational Quality Assessment. It was originally given back in the 70s and early 80s, and the test said citizenship. So parents thought they were testing George Washington and the Declaration of Independence. But when you looked at the internal documents of the test, which I did, it said we're not testing objective knowledge. We are testing and scoring for the child's threshold for behavior change without protest.
I'm loving this. And this really happened. This was real.
And that was in the test. So the sample question said there's a group called the Midnight Marauders, and they went out at midnight and did vandalism. I, the child, would join the group if my best friend was in the group, my mother wouldn't find out. There was no place to say, I won't join the group. They had to say under what conditions they would join the group. Another sample question was, your parents just found out that they're moving to, outer Mongolia. How much time would you spend on each of the following? Being upset, crying, arguing. So how adaptable are you to change? Based on the results of the EQA, districts were given curriculum packets to modify their curriculum so that the children would do better on the EQA the next time. So they were using the test to get a threshold for behavior and then adapting. Now that was a paper and pencil test, so to say it was easy to track is a gross overstatement of the level of difficulty that it was to get the information. But compared to a computer adaptive test, much easier.
So the way
Hold it. Play it.
Oh, really? Oh, that's very kind of you. Oh, wow. Okay.
Clip of the day.
I still have a minute left of her.
No, it's okay. When she did the thing about the what is it? Behavior change without protest.
Yeah.
That's when you won.
And what she is saying is that with Common Core Scholastic Standards, CCSS, the tests and the questions will change based upon each answer to bring you into to compliance with whatever the messaging is. And she's saying, look, it's one thing if it's paper and a pencil, but now when it's on the computer, this shit can change just immediately, and there's no oversight. None.
When we were fighting outcome-based education, I was in every state but Hawaii. And in one state, I was reading the assessments, and it was a reading assessment. And it was a story about a child who found a wallet, and there was money in the wallet, and what do you do with the money? I'm sitting in the Department of Education, reading it in front of the undersecretary, because they didn't want me to make a copy and take it anywhere, which was fine. And the question was, to the child, if you found a wallet with money in it, would you take it? Do you read better if you say yes, or do you read better if you say no? Or were they testing a child's honesty on a state assessment with their name on it that was computerized?
That's exactly it. Parents need to protest, but parents need to protest this crap.
Oh, yeah, they should. This is horrible. We've said this before. We should probably focus on it a little more with this kind of, with this woman being a good person. Anyway, I was just going to get to, which is the kids. This is like what you get in a I think, idealistic communist dictatorship of some sort, where you're trying to train the slaves, like you said. But kids aren't really that dumb. They will actually, amongst themselves, unless you keep them separated like you would in a prison, they will talk about this. And they'll say, what are you going to do? I don't know. They put me on this bad thing. What did my test did this. What did your test do? Well, my test did this. Right. What did you answer? Well, I answered this. And then they'll scam the test eventually.
Yeah. Well,
and so it won't work. This won't work. I mean,
this is
horrible, but it won't work because kids aren't this stupid.
Oh, but it's skip logic.
It's skip logic.
It is, yeah, because
it's totally skip logic.
You're getting a question, you're answering. The answer is the next question changes based upon that answer.
A couple of rounds of this, you're going to start out thinking the test. You're going to say, "Well, what if I said that? What if I did?" They're trying to trick me. Once you get a clue,
when you're 7 or 8, is this what you do? Or how about the big push from our president specifically for pre-K? We need to send the kids to the slave training before kindergarten. By the way, kindergarten, child garden, where you grow them, you plant them, you water them with propaganda.
Right, and they're pretty pliant till they get to about the 4th grade. 5th grade, you start to fall apart a little bit. You start to think for yourself. 6th grade for sure.
Yeah, but
7th grade, and then you're done, and you're scheming against the system.
Yeah, but you think
we're not
really
close?
think?
There's too many people.
We're not growing kids that way anymore.
No. I'm not. No.
Where are they getting the defiant messaging from? How do they even know? How do they even know how to do this? How to go against the man?
We have kids that listen to our show.
Well, thank God. So we are essentially.
We're it.
It's Bill and Melinda Gates or us. That's kind of what you're telling me. All right. Good. Well, I'm glad to be on the front line there. Screw those guys. This is corrupting our children. This is
really
very
bad.
Yeah,
this woman has got to be praised.
Yeah. You want to hear the last 30 seconds of her?
Yeah, I love this woman.
But because it was paper and pencil, I could find it. What if I put that in a computer test? And if they don't give the right answer, I can change the computer to move them in the next direction. So computer adaptive testing is really dangerous for our children because the state can manipulate achievement data by making the test harder if they want or easier if they want. And you won't know. You'll just get proficient results. or they can use the test to test for and then influence what your child thinks and how your child thinks about a variety of topics. And again, the parents thought that was a reading test. They didn't know that it was that honesty was being tested on a paper and pencil state assessment with their child's name on it. That's now part of their record.
Yeah, permanent.
Now, wait. Here's what she doesn't get to, which I think is part of this, and she should get to this. Maybe she does in some other talk. This isn't about, at the end of the day, figuring out how the kid thinks isn't about the kid anymore. It's about the parents.
Oh, no, totally. And the parents are going to get a knock at the door because your child doesn't seem so gay-friendly as it should be.
Any number of things.
Mm-hmm.
The kid doesn't think this way. Where does your child get this idea?
Where is it coming from?
Why is your child like, what is wrong with your child? This child doesn't dream this stuff up by itself. This child gets this information and feels this way because of some other source. That must be you.
And
then you start looking around the house, see what kind of books they got.
This is exactly what my ex-wife always says. Whenever my daughter does something weird, she's like, she gets that from you.
Well, now just imagine the government being that way.
Exactly. She gets that from you, and you get it from your father. Yeah, it's not that funny, really.
Well, it's funny to
Not nice, yeah. Yeah, so this so I'm very happy that this is not only, and that's the way it was being spun. Of course, just to back up for everybody, this Common Core was implemented through a race to the top $8 billion grant given to the National Governors Association. And they went right ahead and got Bill and Melinda Gates and all these other suspects, typical.
Michael Dell
and his wife. Yep, they're all on board. They're all, because of course they have, it has to be Microsoft operating system, has to be Dell computers. They're all in on it.
Yeah, they don't see the danger. I'm not convinced that they're part of the real scheme. They're just part of the money part. Let's make some money.
But Bill and Melinda Gates, they are evil. They have to be stopped. These people have to be stopped.
Well, the fact that they bought into the California Corrections CCA, that operation, which is the privatization of, which I have some clips of. I have it somewhere else, and I'll get them for the next show. This is a really bad trend, these privatized jails.
But the privatized jail is the same as the privatized school. We get charter schools. They're being paid for by God knows who. They're putting all this Common Core stuff in. Take your children out. Vote these people out. Stop Bill and Melinda Gates. Stop them. These people must be stopped. They own NPR. They own it.
Yeah, they're the ones who had the NewsHour redesign its whole operation.
Yeah. These people must be
the
stopped.
Ultimate suits.
Yeah, they must be stopped.
The worst kind of suits.
And they really believe that, and that's the worst part, they really believe they're doing good. They're not. And you need to get involved with your kids. Pull your kids out. If there's Common Core, and it's in 47 states, if there's Common Core coming to your school, you need to revolt.
What states don't have it?
Texas says they don't have it, but they do actually. When you get into this and you start looking, because I wanted to see, where's Texas? Texas has Educate Texas. At Educate Texas, we know that post-secondary education will jumpstart progress. That's why we work closely with our partners to ensure that all Texas high school students, regardless of income, blah, 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 blah. And you look at who's on this and who's funding this. And it just doesn't stop. The daisy chain of nonprofits. This also has to stop. We have to stop nonprofits. They have to stop. Seriously. It's just killing us. It's killing our culture. It's killing everything.